Today on How to Financial, we'll be taking a look at the business cycle. The business cycle, also known as the economic cycle or trade cycle, refers to the fluctuations in economic activity that occur over time. These fluctuations include changes in gross domestic product, or GDP, employment, and prices. The business cycle is typically divided into 4 phases: expansion, peak, contraction, and trough. During the expansion phase, economic activity is increasing and GDP, employment, and prices are all rising. This is also known as a period of economic growth. The peak marks the point at which the expansion phase ends and the economy reaches its highest level of activity. During the contraction phase, also known as a recession, economic activity is decreasing and GDP, employment, and prices are falling. The trough marks the point at which the contraction phase ends and the economy reaches its lowest level of activity. It's important to note that the duration of each phase of the business cycle can vary and it doesn't always have the same amplitude. John Maynard Keynes, a prominent economist of the 20th century, believed that the business cycle was an inherent feature of a capitalist economy, and that it was characterized by fluctuations in economic activity, employment, and prices. He believed that the primary cause of the business cycle was a lack of aggregate demand, which leads to a decline in economic activity and a decrease in employment. He argued that during economic downturns, the private sector may be reluctant to invest and spend, leading to a decrease in aggregate demand and a reduction in economic activity. To address the negative effects of the business cycle, Keynes proposed using government intervention in the form of fiscal and monetary policy. He argued that the government should increase spending and investment during economic downturns to stimulate demand and boost economic activity. Additionally, Keynes believed that the central bank could use monetary policy such as lowering interest rates to encourage borrowing and investment and to stimulate demand. Keynes believed that the business cycle was a result of free market failures and that government intervention was necessary to stabilize the economy and promote growth. He argued that the business cycle could be managed through a combination of fiscal and monetary policy, and that this would lead to a more stable and predictable economic environment. Keynesian economics has been put into practice in several ways, including through the use of fiscal policy and monetary policy. Despite its widespread use, Keynesian economics has been criticized for its effectiveness in addressing the business cycle and promoting economic growth. Its implementation has led to a number of unintended consequences, including inflation, increased government debt, market distortion, and moral hazard, which have reduced its overall effectiveness in promoting economic stability and growth. These policies were highly used during the Great Depression under President Franklin Roosevelt. Many economists argue that their implementation lengthened the Great Depression by years. Where most countries saw a downturn of only 2 to 3 years, America went through approximately 10 years of economic depression. Keynes himself actually admitted the failure of his policies, yet those in power who wished to further assert their control maintained these policies through present day. On the contrary, Austrian economists view the business cycle as a natural consequence of central banking and government intervention in the economy. They argue that the business cycle is characterized by a series of booms and busts, where the economy experiences periods of growth and contraction. According to Austrian economists, the business cycle is caused by the manipulation of the money supply and interest rates by central banks. They believe the expansion of credit through the banking system creates an artificial boom where prices for goods and services as well as asset prices rise. This leads to an increase in spending and investment, and the economy experiences a period of growth. However, Austrian economists argue that this artificial boom is not sustainable and eventually leads to a bust. The artificial increase in demand leads to a misallocation of resources, where business invests in projects that are not economically viable. When the bubble bursts and the economy experiences a contraction, these misallocated resources are revealed, leading to a decrease in economic activity. They argue that the business cycle is a result of the intervention of government and central banks in the economy, and that is amplified by the use of a fiat currency. They believe that the only way to prevent the negative effects of the business cycle is to limit the role of government and central banks in the economy, and to allow market forces to regulate the economy. They view the business cycle as an important concept for understanding the economic consequences of government intervention and central banking. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe and comment below.